Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Tillis, I just want to follow up. You indicated you graduated from Middlebury College, I believe.
That is correct.
What was your undergraduate degree?
Oh, you mean what did I study?
Yeah.
English.
And then a Columbia MBA. Did you have a concentration at Columbia in finance or human resources?
Marketing and finance.
And then you indicated you didn't have a pharmacy or medical background. You not had a separate training in pharmacy science or any allied health field.
That is correct.
And Mr. Smith, tell me about you. Where'd you go to college?
Went to Fordham University.
And what was your undergraduate major?
Finance?
Do you have a graduate degree?
No.
Have you had any separate training in any pharmacy or allied health field?
None other than professional experience.
Okay. And then my understanding is the same is probably true about Mr. Shkreli, that he didn't have a background in pharmacy or medical studies academically.
Actually, I'm not sure of Martin's educational background, but I do know that early on, one of the things that enormously impressed me is that he had developed on his own a treatment for PCAN. I found that fascinating. That I think he has a patent on the disease. So to me, he seems to have been self-taught.
You first started working with him when he was at a hedge fund, is that correct?
I met him when he was there, yes.
Okay. Mr. Smith, you answered a question to Senator Casey that I want to follow up on. You asked kind of how you came upon Daraprim and determined that it was undervalued, and he asked you, how do you determine a drug is undervalued? And I think your testimony was that, I was trying to write it down quickly, you look at drugs and you assess the value of the drugs based upon the value that they have to patients. And if you notice that I think the extension was if the value to patients is high, but the cost isn't very high, then there's some kind of a mismatch, and that's what undervalued means. Is that a fair characterization of your testimony?
I think to expand on my testimony, I was referring to the fact that some drugs, there's also an opportunity to increase units. As some physicians have mentioned, the typical patient that takes Daraprim is generally pretty non-compliant with their medicine. So putting a product like Daraprim into a specialty pharmacy where there's refill reminders and the drug is delivered right to their door, there's a number of steps that we take to ensure that patients take drug, which increases units, and also that leads to better patient outcomes.
How does that relate to your answer to the question of whether Daraprim was undervalued?
That those items add to the value, that those things were not currently being as addressed as aggressively as we currently are.
So you concluded that Daraprim was undervalued in part because you thought that there was a mismatch between the pricing of that drug and the significant and intense need that particular patients had for that drug because it was the gold standard treatment for the medical condition.
I believe the drug was underutilized, yes.
Right. So this notion of kind of what undervalue is, that if patients really need it, that they have an intense need for it because it's the gold standard, but the price is low. I mean, it's basically a profit opportunity. It is the patient as a hostage, the patient as a profit center. If the patient really needs it because it's the gold standard and the price is low, then there's the finance opportunity that suggests, wow, this is an undervalued drug. What a great business opportunity for us. I mean, sounds like I kind of got the business model.
Can I provide some clarification?
Yeah, I mean, and your testimony is already on the record, what you said to Senator Casey, but please, yeah, clarify.
When I said utilization, I meant that the patients, because this is such an important medicine.
You actually, your answer didn't, when you answered Senator Casey, you said nothing about utilization. What you said is you viewed this as an undervalued drug because the value to patients was very high, and that was very different than how the drug was being priced. So my read of that quick testimony was you saw a gap between patients who had a tremendous need to have this drug because it's the gold standard in treating a difficult condition, and a pricing mechanism that frankly wasn't extracting enough for them, given the value that it had to the patients who needed it.
So as I responded to your initial request for clarification on undervalued, I used the word utilization, and by utilization I meant the use of the drug within the patient population. It's my understanding that there.
And so the notion would be, if it was underutilized, one of the ways you could more utilize it is expand access to it. Have more people have access to it, right?
By utilization, I mean sick patients taking drug.
And so the idea would be you would want to expand utilization, and the way to expand utilization would be to expand access, right?
By investing in patient access.
So I know that you've indicated that you have no responsibility with respect to pricing decisions, but how could it conceivably be an expansion of utilization or facilitate expanded access to increase the price of a pill from $17 to $750?
Well, access is just a component. The additional research and development in a next generation drug that we could market worldwide is also a significant.
But you would agree with me. So you went to Fordham and had a degree in finance, and I have a degree in economics. I can barely remember. But as a general matter, if we see this drug, we don't think it's utilized enough, and we want it to be utilized more, that jacking the price from $17 to $750 and entering into a sole source distribution agreement, those two things actually cut against the expansion of utilization. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that?
No.
You don't think increasing the price from $17 to $750 would reduce the expanded utilization of this product?
No, raising the price allows you to make all of these significant investments in the different areas I spoke about, the commercial, patient outreach, and research and development. And
has the subsequent experience in terms of, dramatically expanding the quantity of this that patients have been taking borne that out?
I don't have familiarity with the exact figures, but Nancy Retzlaff, our Chief Commercial Officer, would be able to tell you.
What was the, tell me about the genesis of the sole distribution agreement with Walgreens.
That's an agreement that we inherited from Impacts.
Was the fact that that agreement was in place a business factor in your decision that Daraprim was an undervalued drug and a promising opportunity for investment by Turing?
We had planned to set up a similar system. So in some ways, they already set it up.
Right. So you would have done that if it, that was a positive factor as you were looking at whether this was an undervalued drug that you might want to purchase, that they had a sole distribution agreement with Walgreens.
Their agreement is, I believe, there's been a number of amendments to the agreement, but.
Yeah, but you get what I'm asking. If you were going to do it anyway, the fact that they had already done it was a positive as you looked at this investment opportunity.
Yes.
Okay. And there were concerns raised with Turing about the sole source agreement with Walgreens and the effect that it would have on access and utilization. I'll just refer to the record, Exhibit 23, emails from the Health Resources and Services Administration that show that HRSA reached out directly to Turing with concerns that this limited distribution network would have a significant impact on patient access. And I'll just state that for the record. I don't think we need to go into it further. It's in the record. Madam Chair, I don't have any other questions, but I just think that the two fundamental kind of core aspects of this undervaluation determination, we see this as undervalued because patients really need it, and the cost and maybe the access to it suggest that we need to expand utilization. And then we take steps to dramatically jack up the cost, and we take steps to put this drug, or we at least find positive, to put this drug in a limited distribution channel that raises questions about access. It just seems to me that, this is a business model that is about patients as hostages. It's about patients as profit centers. And it's decisions that are made by executives who have no training in pharmacy, no training in medicine, no training in allied health fields at all. That this just seems okay. Fordham's a Jesuit school.